Hello everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the JoshCast, a podcast made by a Josh for a Josh. I'm your host, Josh. Today I want to talk about a controversial topic in the Pokemon community, and that is the recent releases of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearls. And as I've been playing through them here on the channel, I've been asking myself off screen, are these good games or bad games? I'm honestly not sure. From where the playthrough is on the channel right now, I'm still pretty early, but I've recorded much further ahead to where I have these opinions and I kind of want to just talk it over, not just with you guys, but with myself, just to kind of really clear up if I really think these are good games or not. There's some things that they do well, but there are other things that they do not do well at all. And there's some, I don't want to call them mistakes, but there's changes that just baffle me, that make me think, who thought this was a good idea and why? So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into it. I'm going to start with some of the issues that I have with this game. The first issue that I have with this game is how heavily it was nerfed from the original Diamond and Pearl. For this, I'm comparing it to the original Diamond and Pearl. I'm not comparing it to Platinum. I think it goes without saying that Platinum was definitely the harder and more challenging one of the Gen 4 series compared to Diamond and Pearl, not counting Heart Gold, Soul Silver, just Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. Platinum was definitely the tougher of the two, and it was more fun for that. Everybody likes a good challenge. But for some reason, the game developers decided that, I guess, the original Diamond and Pearl was too difficult, because they made this game even easier than the original Diamond and Pearl. And one of my biggest gripes with the original Diamond and Pearl was that they were too easy. The originals were too easy to me. The trainers were bad, and the Elite Four was a total pushover. Like, fucking Flint only had 2 fire types on his team, and he was a Fire Elite Four member. Yeah, that doesn't really make sense. But the way this game has been nerfed, from what I've seen so far, is that they remove moves from Ace Pokemon and give them worse moves in their place. The first example that I came across in this playthrough was Cheryl in Eterna Forest when you pair up with her. In the original Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, her Chansey had Egg Bomb and Soft Boiled. Most of the time she always spammed Soft Boiled, which is annoying, but she had Egg Bomb, which is a pretty good move for early game, and that Chansey would one-shot just about every wild encounter you could find, and would actually be helpful in the double battles. But in this game, they removed them, both of them, Soft Boiled and Egg Bomb, and in return, they gave Chansey Tail Whip and Disarming Voice. Yeah, you heard that right. So now, a Chansey that was a force pair-up in the Eterna Forest went from being actually useful in battles to useless in battles. Like, it can't do shit to anything that you fight. You have to carry your own team. The only thing that Chansey does is it tanks. I mean, it's nice that it doesn't spam soft-boiled anymore, but I don't get it. Why would you want to remove that? Like, I guess it makes trainer battles a little more hard and challenging, but it makes them more tedious than anything, and it's not fun. Eterna Force is less fun now that Chansey sucks than it did when Chansey was actually useful. The second big example of nerfing that I have seen in this game that I've uploaded to the channel is the Jupiter fight. The Jupiter fight, her Skuntank was horrible. Normally, in the originals, Skuntank had Night Slash, and which was a really strong stab dark move, and that thing would fuck your team up if you had nothing to tank it, or if you misplayed or if the Night Slash crit, whatever it may be, Night Slash was a threat on that Skuntank, and it made that Jupiter fight difficult. And also the thing about Night Slash is that it can't miss. So you can try accuracy strats, but Skuntank doesn't give a shit because it can just Night Slash you. It'll always hit. But in these remakes, they removed it. They took Night Slash off of Skuntank, the move that made that fight difficult. Because that early in the game, you don't really have a tank. You don't have anyone that can take a hit very well. So you really had to think carefully and plan how you're going to take Jupiter. But they took Night Slash off of Skuntank. And as you'll see in the playthrough, when I faced Jupiter, I was able to take down a Skuntank with a Shellos tugboat using Mud Slap and just lower its accuracy and watch it miss everything, as it could just stand there helpless because its best move was gone. And I don't get that. Why would you want to nerf that fight? It wasn't even, I guess it was a little difficult, but it wasn't too difficult to begin with. Like, these are just two examples from the playthrough that have been uploaded so far. I've played further ahead, but I don't want to spoil anything. But there are more examples like this in the game being nerfed for no reason, because I guess, God forbid, little Timmy loses a battle, right? Like, what's another reason they could have had for nerfing opponents like that? Obviously, they think that if you lose a battle, that you won't think the game's fun and that you'll quit just because you lose a battle. No. Getting your ass kicked in a battle because you weren't prepared makes the game more fun. When you have a challenge that you can overcome and that forces you to play better, it makes the game more fun and rewarding. But if everything is spoon-fed to you and handed you on a platter, it's not fun because it's too easy. And that's something that the Pokemon Company has forgotten for years now. The best game to implement an actual challenge was Generation 5 in Black and White. All the way back to Generation 5. Ever since then, Gen 6 and up, the Pokemon games have been super easy. Way too easy. And I don't get it. Everybody liked Black and White, and in Black 2, White 2, they actually had a difficulty setting that you can make the game harder, and even a challenge mode for your veteran players. But now they're like on a quest to make the games as easy as possible. And I just don't get it. Sure, it's nice for, people who are playing the franchise for the first time and have no clue what the hell is going on. Sure. But this is also a case for why the difficulty slider should be added. Because if you pander the game only to the new players and you ignore your veteran players, you're going to drive off your veteran players because they get bored playing your game because it's too easy. Like, if I want to play a difficult Pokemon game, I'll just go play Platinum or Black and White. One of those games where I'm actually challenged and I can apply what I've learned over this series to that game. But you just can't do that anymore. The game tries to make you as overpowered as possible. You don't even have to try to build a balanced team. I could put together a team of Cricketoons and Babarrels, and I'd still probably 6-0 every trainer I face in this game, because it forces you to become OP. You can't make it harder. The game wants you to be overpowered because they think if it's challenging, it's not fun. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It's the exact opposite. The more challenging a game is, the more fun it is. It's that hurdle that we get over that makes it so much fun. It's what makes it memorable. And so far, not a whole lot of this game has been memorable, and I don't really remember any of the fights in a good way, because by the time I realized what was wrong with these fights and that they were too easy, the fight was over. You just breeze through everything, and that's not fun. I want to take my time. I want the game to force me to slow down and play its way, rather than letting me just become OP and breeze through everything. The second way that this game has, I guess, nerfed itself or is trying to make it so you can't lose is the forced EXP share. I fucking hate this. I hate the forced EXP share. I don't know whose idea it was. I don't know why this was even a thing or approved in the first place, because it breaks the game. This is not new to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. This has been around for a little bit. Not a whole lot, but for a little bit. And I don't get it. From the first time I saw it in Let's Go, I hated it. It makes no sense. It's broken. And it just makes the game too easy. In X and Y, when that game came out, there was an EXP share that made the game too easy because it gave your whole team experience. But the thing about that EXP share is that you could turn it off. Because the biggest, I guess, counter argument to the people saying X and Y is too easy is say, oh, we'll just turn off EXP share. And there was some truth to that, but that's a whole other topic for a different day. But at least you could turn it off. But everybody who played X and Y knows if you left that EXP share on, your team would become overpowered because everything would be getting experience just through a battle that they didn't even partake in. But now it's gotten to the point in these newer games where it can't be turned off. You get forced EXP share from the very beginning. You can't avoid it, and it can't be turned off. So if you really want to, I guess, control the levels of your team, you have to deposit them in the box, I guess, and just run a solo Pokemon. But that's not fun because that's essentially grinding in itself where you're trying to keep your team underleveled. And even then, that's a tedious task. And even because they have scaled EXP growths. So if you're underleveled, you're going to gain more experience than if you were overleveled. So even if you kept your team overleveled, they're still going to gain extra experience because they're a lower leveled. So in a way, you can't even avoid becoming overpowered because of this EXP share. And it's stupid. It makes the game easy, way too easy. In addition to the teams that you face being nerfed, taking away their best moves, your team is now also being overleveled against your will. So the only way to really enjoy this game is to do bizarre challenge modes like hardcore Nuzlocke without a Poke Center. In a traditional run, that's unheard of. You see hardcore Nuzlocke and you see runs without Poke Centers, but to do them together, that's brutal. But in this game, it would just make the difficulty standard. It'd make the game a little harder, but it would make it enjoyable. But you have to do such bizarre challenge runs to make it a standard difficulty in what would make other games almost unbeatable. It would make them so challenging doing a run like that where, you can actually have a challenge that these games lack. But now with Forced EXP Share, you can't go through just a general playthrough of this game without being overleveled. And I hate that. I want to play these games for a challenge. I've played this series since Generation 2. I've played every game in this series, and I want a game that forces me to use what I've learned over the years and develop strategy and outsmart this game. But the game is outsmarting itself for me. And I don't know how anybody likes that. Moving on, a third way that this game is nerfing itself is bizarre, dumbass AI. Dumbass AI play. I can't remember the episode that was uploaded, but in the Mars fight, when I fought Mars, she made just baffling decisions. She U-turned her Zubat and got her Purugly killed for no reason, just because, I guess, even though she was in a position where she probably could have swept my team. And it's same for Jupiter. Jupiter wasn't making great plays. She was making questionable plays. And even the traditional non-boss NPCs are just making baffling decisions. And I've pointed it out a couple times. Like in the episode Saving Private Myra, it hasn't come out yet, but, it's in the wait. It'll come out later this week. But there's a Bronzor that I fought, and I have Annette on the field, who's a Curlia, fairy type, weak to steel, and this Bronzor kept going for Gyro Ball on Myra's Kadabra when it could go for a stab super effective move on my fairy type, but it just never did. It wasn't doing anything to Kadabra, but it just decided to go for it as if it didn't recognize the fairy type. I don't know what could have made the AI think like that or behave like that. Not just in that scenario, but in all the other scenarios I've pointed out the AI making dumb decisions. It takes away the fun of it. Like, my opponent is throwing. Like, if you're playing somebody in a game, not Pokemon, but just anything, even board games. Like, if you're playing somebody in something and they're not trying, like they're throwing and whatnot, it doesn't make it fun. Like, as I've said 100 times now, it's not fun when it's not challenging, when it doesn't feel like we're being pushed, when we're being tested. And I don't like it. It doesn't make sense. Why? And this is another reason why we should have difficulty sliders. If you're new to the game and you don't know anything that's going on, maybe you are a little timid, then sure, give us an easy difficulty with less intelligent AI and lower levels with easier, or I guess, weaker moves, and make the game easy, but then give us a challenge mode or a hard difficulty where the AI is smarter, has better moves, and is a higher level. It's not hard. Games have been doing this for years, longer than I've even been alive. There have been difficulty settings in games, and I have no idea why Pokemon is so afraid of this. Like, it would make the game so much better if we can make the game as difficult as we want to suit our level of play. Like, even ROM hacks and fan-made games, they all have this. So obviously it's not that hard if amateur hackers and ROM makers can do it, but a multi-billion-dollar corporation can't. No, it just doesn't make sense. Like, there's no excuse for it. It's not about resources or timing, because these games are going to be rushed and cheap anyways. I just don't get it. So, moving on from how the game is trying to force us to win, making it impossible to lose. Another problem that I have with this game, it's kind of a minor gripe, but it's the reused battle settings. Like, when you're outdoors in the game, every outdoor battle setting will be the same. With, like, the trees and the grass, it's always the same, no matter where you are. If you're outside, you will see the same battle setting wherever you go. When you're in a cave, you'll see the same battle setting whenever you go. When you face Team Galactic, whether it's a grunt, a commander, you will see the same bland, boring nothingness that is that battle setting. And it takes away, like, the feel of location from the game. It just makes it less creative. Like, they cut a massive corner on that, because we've seen them do it before where the battle setting is dependent on where you're standing. Like, they were doing this in the 3DS, and it looked great. It made the game more immersive. It made you feel like you were actually in a world. But nowadays, when you go into a battle, you feel like you're just teleported to a different universe to do a battle, and then you're teleported right back. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel natural. It's just weird. And speaking of battles, another problem I have with this game is the move animations. When I found out, or when we all found out that this game wasn't being made by Game Freak, I was pumped, because I felt like a company was going to come in and show Game Freak how it's done. Like, come in and say, this is what a game looks like, this is what the fans want. But overall, it's just been a disappointment. And one of the biggest things I thought would immediately be fixed in this game was the move animations. Because one of the biggest things that Sword and Shield were ripped apart for was the lazy ass, horrible move animations, like Tail Whip, where the Pokemon just spins around and then just shakes in place, and they call that a Tail Whip, I guess, even though nothing happens with a little animation on it. And I thought that would be fixed in this game, because that's like one of the biggest ways you can one-up Game Freak, is by making proper move animations. I'd be beating a dead horse if I pointed out, Coliseum and XD and those animations, and Stadium, how they actually had proper animations unique to each Pokemon using it. But they don't. They didn't in this game. They're just as lazy. They're not appealing, and it doesn't feel like the moves are actually hitting, I guess. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any weight to them. It all just feels empty and hollow. And I know, again, I'm beating a dead horse with this, but I really thought something different was going to be done in this game, because it's a different company who's obviously going to try to make a reputation in this franchise. And it was such a highly controversial and hated aspect of the previous games. It was laziness in its most obvious form. People called out Game Freak for it, and yet nothing changed, even with a new developer. So it's not just a Game Freak problem at this point, it's a Pokemon Company problem in general. Because if they cared about it, they would have fixed it. This would have been something that they told the company and said, hey, you guys need to address this, this, and this, because this is what's pissing off the fans. This is what they want. This is what the games are lacking according to them. We need to take this feedback and apply it and make a better game. That's what, logically, you would expect them to do. But obviously, looking at the presentation of this game, they didn't listen. They don't care, because they know they can just invest the minimum, rush out a game, and people will buy it. They make money and move on. So I'm going to assume there's going to be DLC for this game. I think that's a given, especially with Sword and Shield and how they did it. I think it's going to come. I don't know what it's going to be or what it's going to entail or anything. I don't have any theories at this point. Just that it's probably going to come just as another cash grab, and it's probably not going to be very good. My expectations are so low with Pokemon at this point. Just over the years, just one bad game after another, starting with X and Y onward. They've all just been bad. And at this point, like, I can't even really be disappointed, just because this is what I expected. My expectations are so low that, yeah. But I've said it before in this Let's Play that this game would still somehow be worse than it is now if it was made by Game Freak, and I still stand by that. This game has a lot of flaws, but if it was made by Game Freak, it would somehow be even worse. Like, it would be a genuinely terrible game if it was made by Game Freak. I think this game is very flawed. It's obviously very flawed. It doesn't take in fan feedback. It doesn't care about its veterans and those who have been playing the series for their whole lives. It only cares about making money with the littlest investment while pandering to a new, younger audience, because they seem to have this mindset to where the only people that play these games are like 3-year-olds. And even then, 3-year-olds could get through this game without any issue, just because it's that easy. But that's beside the point. The point is, this game is very flawed, and it's disappointing. It's very disappointing, especially for a game that was hyped for years, like the Gen 4 remakes. People have been talking about these games being remade for years. And because it's just such a beloved franchise entry. It's Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum were incredible games on their own, especially Platinum. And it came during a generation that is widely considered to be the best. Like Generation 4 had Platinum, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver. And I still, to this day, believe that Heart Gold and Soul Silver were the best games and are still the best games in the series. And those are examples of how to remake a game, because it took the original Silver and Gold and it added to it. It was faithful to the original, but it added aspects from Crystal and it added its own content, like an upgraded Safari and the Pokathlon. You know, that game slapped. It was incredible. And there's a reason why it's considered the best, because it actually gave a shit and it actually cared to be good. But these newer games don't care. They just want to make money and leave and move on to the next cheap product that they turn out. So I've talked now a lot about my biggest issues with this game. But now I'm going to talk about some things that I actually kind of like about this game. The first one that I actually like about this game is actually controversial. It's going to be controversial, but I actually like the graphics. The lighting, the shading, the look, the style of this game, I actually really like it. Now, I'm not saying that the Chibis style player models are good. They're not. They're bad. I'll get into the Chibis here in a minute. But the graphics outside of the, I guess, player models is really nice. It's pretty. It's pleasant to look at. And I don't really understand why a lot of people are hating on it. I understand hating on the Chibi design. But as far as the graphics outside of like the battle setting and the Chibi characters, I don't get why people don't like it. I don't. Maybe somebody can let me know down below. But I don't get it. I don't get it. I actually like it. And speaking of player models, I love the player models in battle in this game. Not the Chibis. Not the Chibis. But in the battle setting, the player models look fucking amazing. They look incredible. This is the best they have ever looked. I have pointed it out multiple times throughout the series so far, is that I just really like their design. They really did justice, I think, to the player models in battle. And it's just pleasant to look at. Like, it's too bad that they can't be complemented by, I guess, player models outside of battle. Instead of the little chibi things, like have proper models that complement the models in battle. Which is another letdown of this, but the models look amazing in battle. I really don't have anything else to say about that, except that they just look good. They really look good. So, going back to something that I don't like about this game is that the Chibi style. This was something that was very, I guess, highly debated when the game was first revealed. We all remember that trailer where it showed Chibi Dawn with her huge ass hands, and everybody immediately was jumping on the, oh god, this game is going to suck. This game does not look good. And it didn't look very good in the original. The lighting and graphics looked bad. It was definitely polished up. Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that. But it just doesn't work. Especially with the follow me Pokemon. When they follow behind you, like, they weren't made into Chibis, as they shouldn't be, but it makes the Chibis look even more out of place. And I remember, I can't remember what episode it was, but I pointed out in an episode when I saw one of the Galactic Grunts sitting in a chair, and the chair was like really big compared to the tiny player models. And that's like what I mean. The Chibi characters just feel out of place. They don't feel like they belong. It doesn't work. I don't know where this idea came from. I haven't liked it since the beginning. I never liked the Chibi design. I think it's a step backwards. And it doesn't fit. They stick out like a sore thumb. Everything fits together in the outside of battle, except the models. And I know they won't patch it out and change it because that wouldn't, I guess, look right. It'd make everything else look weird. There isn't a way to really fix it that makes everything else work. But I just wish they wouldn't have taken this route. I wish they would have saw the feedback from the initial reveal and thought, these guys don't like this. Let's change it. Let's go to a different format. Show some screenshots of a different, I guess, look and see how people react. You don't have to change the whole game immediately, but you can release some, screenshots of what the game would look like with different types of models, and then let the community feedback decide that. Because at the end of the day, if the community likes the products that are being advertised to them, they're going to buy it. And I wonder just how many people didn't buy this game because of the way it looked. Like, obviously, there's going to be a lot of people who felt that way, who thought that the game was going to be bad because of the way it looked. And honestly, you can't really blame them. I mean, you don't want to play a game that looks like shit. I think only the Chibis are the problem, but there are people who disagree with me on that. I think there are more problems with the look of it beside just the Chibi characters. But we can all mostly agree on that the Chibi player models do not look like they belong, and they don't complement the amazing in-battle player models that this game has. And that's really just disappointing, I guess. So those are some of my thoughts right now throughout where I've played through this game. And the game is consistent enough with itself to where I feel comfortable making this and pointing out these issues and the things that I like about this game and giving an honest review of it. I am enjoying playing through this game. It is very nostalgic for me because, as I said also in the playthrough, that Diamond was the first Pokemon game that I finished. My first Pokemon game was Silver, but I didn't finish it for a few years because the internal... I don't exactly remember what it was. I think it was a battery in the old Silver cartridge because the game couldn't save. I couldn't save the game. Every time I turned off the Game Boy, the save file would be gone and I'd have to start over. So I didn't get a working Silver copy until a few years later after I had already gotten and finished Diamond. So this game is very nostalgic for me. Generation 4 is my absolute favorite. Platinum is up there, I think, with Heart Gold, Soul Silver is the best. It's the most nostalgic for me, Platinum is. And I really wanted to see this game be successful because of it. Because of how much Diamond and Pearl meant to me as a kid. But because of its nostalgia and getting to go through Sinnoh again, I am enjoying my playthrough. I really am. But it's so hard to not acknowledge these flaws that the game has. And it's important that we do, even though the Pokemon company doesn't give a shit. It's important for us to acknowledge it and to let other people know why we don't think this is acceptable. Now, as I was saying, while I am enjoying playing through this game, my overall opinion on it is that it's a bit of a letdown. I honestly thought it was going to be a true, faithful remake to Diamond and Pearl. But honestly, after everything I've seen, it's still enjoyable. But I feel like we would have been better off getting just a port of Diamond and Pearl. Just port the DS version to the Switch. Let us play that. And then remake Platinum to a true self. Make a true recreation of Platinum instead of this. That's what I would have done, just seeing how this game turned out. And it sucks to say that. It really does. I wanted this game to be successful. I wanted a company to step up and put Game Freak in their place and give them competition to make Game Freak step up and make better games. which if you had the competition between game developers for a franchise, then you'd have better product overall. Because when businesses compete, the consumer wins because they get better product. It's just simple, standard business mottos. And so, while my expectations were low, I had high hopes for this game. I was very optimistic. And it's sad to see that it was a letdown. This game is disappointing but enjoyable. I am very mixed on this game. And maybe my view will change for better or worse as I finish this game. But that's just where I am, and that's where I've sat for most of this playthrough. I'm still planning on finishing the series on the channel, and I hope you all tune in for it. But I want to acknowledge these flaws on this, I guess, podcast instead of just talking about it over the course of a few episodes where some of you might not see it, and I can just get it all right here in one podcast where it's all together and I don't have to worry about remembering what I said and what I haven't said over the course of episodes if I did it throughout the series. And throughout the series, I'm obviously going to call the game out on its bullshit, but I'm also going to praise it like I have been for what I like. I am keeping an unbiased eye and opinion of it throughout the series and throughout the game, even from where I am now to how much I have left. Just because I guess even after knowing how this game is and how it's going to be and that it's not going to change, I guess a part of me is just optimistic that something comes up that makes me change my mind, even though I personally am not that naive or ignorant, and I know it's not going to. It just shows how much this game and this series means to me and how much I want it to succeed. Nobody hates on these games because they don't like the games. They hate on the companies, Game Freak, Pokemon, because they want to see it be better. They don't do it just to hate on it. They hate on it because they want it to be better. They know what it can be. They've seen what it can be, and they want it to be better. I want it to be better also. This is a series that I really want to see succeed and just make content and quality games that everybody can enjoy, regardless of age or experience in it. But instead, we're getting simplified content, or I guess simplified gaming experiences. And it's disappointing. It really, really is. I hate seeing it. I hate saying it. It's just not fun. This game is pretty boring. I'm enjoying it, but because of how easy it's trying to be and how unavoidable it is for this game to be easy, it's making it boring. But again, I'm still enjoying playing it just because of the nostalgia factor of it. But seeing this game fall flat like this just makes me less optimistic of future titles. Because if this company comes in to rival Game Freak and they still don't do much of a better job, if at all, it really just takes the wind out of you. Like, I don't know really how to put it into words, the disappointment that I have for this franchise right now. I thought this was going to be a new leaf they were going to turn over and take the franchise back in a positive direction, back to the generations 4 and 5 days that it called its prime, that we know is its prime. And it just hurts knowing that you look back on generations 4 and 5 and know what they can make, what they are capable of making and producing, yet they don't. And that's what makes it worse. It's like a sports team that can go all the way, but they just don't play well. They're lazy, and they just lose, and they fail, and it just hurts to watch them because you know how good they can be. And it's the same with the Pokemon Company and Game Freak and anybody else that touches this franchise. We know what they are capable of. We've seen it and we've played it before, but they just keep falling flat and disappointing us. We allow ourselves to get hyped up and optimistic only to be disappointed time and time again. We convince ourselves that maybe this time will be different just because we love this franchise and we want to see it succeed, but it just keeps falling flat. And I hate that. Do I think that the Pokemon Company will return to its generations 4 and 5 prime? I don't know. I don't. But I'll always be optimistic. And I'll always be disappointed. Time and time again. But that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think of it for whoever might be listening to this. Let me know. I'm going to read every comment on this if there are any. I want to have a discussion with you guys about this. Let me know what you think. Whether you've played the game or not, let me know your thoughts on it down below. And because obviously there are viewpoints and opinions of this that I'm missing just because two heads are better than one when it comes to anything, really. And yeah. So thank you everybody for listening. And more podcasts coming soon. I have a whole bunch of guests lined up. Some of my friends that I want to bring on. And have like general just discussions about all sorts of shit. Not just gaming, but sports, comedy. I have some pretty fucking funny friends. And yeah, so big plans for the podcast. I don't know what its schedule is going to be. It really depends. But as this podcast gets going and I get my feet under me on this and really get moving and comfortable with everything, then we'll talk more about like a set schedule and when an episode will come out. Because I want to try to make this a regular thing, but I'm still, I guess, in that planning phase of it where I'm not 100% sure. I know what I'd like to do, but it's just a matter of implementing it and finding the time. Because these take some time to make. And they require some setup and planning, which isn't bad. I mean, I enjoy it. That's a fun part of this. But I just let you guys know that there are more coming. I'm just not sure when. I mean, it's not going to be too long, but yeah, that's all I can really say. You guys get what I mean. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, let me know your thoughts down below, not just of the game, but in general. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.